Glad to have everybody back here for a weekly AMA. I wasn't available last week. We had Nyla host the previous one, but glad to be back. This week we have a fun one as well. We have DefiEdge with us. Before we do start talking to Danger Exploit, let's talk about some intros. So we do have the oat campaign as always, and DefiEdge has provided a 100 USDC prize pool to lucky oat holders. So make sure you guys listen in for at least 20 minutes, and you'll be able to claim the oat and maybe win some prizes. Now that we have that out of the way, let's welcome our guest once again, Danger Exploit from DefiEdge, and of course, Danger. As always, we'd like our guests to introduce themselves and, of course, introduce their project. So let's start with that.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Arton, for having me here, and good to interact with the community. And been following Space ID for so long, being a community member myself. So really nice to be here and with the whole community. So first of all, hi guys. Really nice to be here once again. And I am the Angel Explorer. I am handling the marketing, the business development part at DeFi, right? And have been here in DeFi since 1.5 years. Introduced to crypto 2-3 years back, and since then have been deep diving into Uniswap V3, right? L2s and different types of liquidity optimization, how to optimize the liquidity and stuff. And it's been a fabulous journey so far. So that's about me and what I do at DefiEdge. And moving to what DefiEdge actually is. So DefiEdge is actually a asset management protocol that first started off on optimizing the liquidity, or actually providing an infrastructure to the liquidity providers or the strategy managers who wanted to create some cutting edge strategies on Uniswap V3, right? So we started off with that, but later on with the Uniswap V3 license being opening, and others V3 folks started to pop up, we opened our services to other V3 concentrated DEXs as well. So now we just don't support Uniswap V3. Now we even support Camelot. We support Pancake Swap, Sushi Swap, right? Ape Swap, and all the other DEXs on various other chains as well. And now we are on actually 5-7 chains now. And our protocol is completely decentralized, permissionless, and non-custodial, right? And anyone can create a strategy, or anyone can even add funds to any strategy, making this a complete paradise for a strategy manager, using the technologies or the infrastructure that we provide and get the most out of the concentrated dexes, right? All these picks and everything, you can harness all that and create 20 plus ranges here, set limit orders to execute market making strategies, or even buying selling orders, right? You can do everything here, and even set up the farms here for new tokens and new protocols to set up liquidity onboarding, or even lend the liquidity on constant basis, right? So that is just an overview of DeFi, and I'm sure that you will get to know about DeFi as soon as we proceed with the AI.
Awesome. You pretty much, I think you pretty much covered my next question. Probably it's fine that my next question was for you to provide an overview of DeFi Edge, but maybe you could go a bit deeper into your guys' core value proposition. How do you guys distinguish yourself in the market currently?
Perfect. I think let's jump to that. So the core proposition that we had to offer is of course the permissionless feature, right? And there are different LM managers providing different services, different strategies, but the only thing that's missing is a permissionless part, right? You just cannot trust on one LM manager and just provide them the funds, and uh, get them to earn you some fees, right? Because they have their different techniques, right? They have the different risk appetites, because they have to cater to a larger audience, managing thousands of funds in one single pool, and rebalancing it accordingly. But if you are actually helping on Uniswap V3, right, there are tons of other features that you will probably be looking forward to, such as creating 20 plus ranges in one week. As a LP, if you provide liquidity on Uniswap VC, there are different things that you have to keep in mind. You have to actively monitor the position, right? You have to make sure that it doesn't go out of range that often. If it does, you have to take out the liquidity and add it to another range, right? It's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of monitoring, and takes a little bit of your time, right? Sometimes most of your time in seeing what ratio you have to add in, right? Swap it, swap out, swap in again in the correct ratio and add it to another range. This had been a blocker for all these detailed people actually trying to enter Uni V3, right? And that's if you see on Twitter, they were news that Uni V3 is the home of impermanent laws, right? If you go on Uni V3, there's just impermanent laws that you will be seeing. Right? So we saw that there is a barrier between the retail and the Uni V3, right? So that is what we simplified it actually, right? If you want to create 20 ranges, you can come on DefiEdge and create it. There's one click rebalancing where you don't have to wrap your head around which ratio you have to swap, right? Or which assets to swap in through or from. And easily you can do that through DeFi. In one single click, we also had integrated abundance. There are no silos created, and it provides you the best solution to swap in and out from any asset and rebalance the ranges without putting any silos in between. And there's no we make sure that there is no slippage, right? The core proposition also lies in our the upcoming feature that I think we'll cover later on. So it's ALO, that is the automated optimization strategies, right? We are not just we create strategies for the protocols, but protocols can also create the strategies themselves, and these strategies are automated, right? And we start off with a certain ratio. It can range from 95% of a governance token and 5% of the base asset to 80%, 20%. You can actually make it very skewed, right? And the main aim is that the protocol generates some fees for the treasury, and still makes the pool liquid and actually boosts the trading volume because the ranges are set in such a way that it actually boosts the confidence. It actually boosts the the liquidity in the ticks, and it makes sure that the liquidity at a certain point, say 1 2 months, we run the back testing for them, and it actually turns out to that 95% or 5% of the ratio turns out to 50-50, right? And it's very capital efficient, right? And it starts earning the fees for them, and they don't have to rent out the liquidity that much. They don't have to provide those incentives. Our main aim actually for these protocols is that they provide the liquidity here, and users start adding liquidity, seeing the natural fees, right? Seeing the real natural fees that we are generating on the protocol, and the incentives are the thing of the past, right? We want to make sure that happens. So that are the core propositions that we keep in mind, and I think that's what the community and the dexes that we're partnering with are actually loving this.
Definitely, thanks, Danger. Yeah, you do mention capital efficiency. I was actually reading about you guys, and I saw your automated liquidity optimization feature. I think you did mention a bit of it here. I'm very interested in uh, maybe I think you did mention something of the sort, but maybe you could explain it more on how does it help in actually preventing impermanent loss. I think that's one of the key issues when providing liquidity, especially in V3, is impermanent loss. So could you give us a more in-depth look on how you guys managed to do that with the ALO feature?
Yeah, sure, man. And I think this capitalization word, it keeps coming out of my mouth everywhere I go. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but moving on to that part about the impermanent loss and everything. So as I mentioned, right? So we created a solution that breaks the barrier between the retail and Uni-V3, right? And people were actually saying, Uni-V3 is equal to impermanent loss, right? People are creating different types of solutions, different type of theories, and it all comes to that point that it's capital efficient. It's 4,000 times more capital efficient, as everyone knows. It generates more fees, right? It generates more fees that, if I talk about, there are two scenarios, right? One is we create the strategies, right? That is the separate part that I will explain. But the first part is it gives you more fees, right? More concentrated the ranges, more fees you are earning, and more fees you are earning that actually cover up the impermanent loss and all that stuff for you, correct? So that is one thing, if we talk about the theoretical part. The second part is you come to us as a LM manager, and we provide you some capital efficient strategies that make sure that the impermanent loss is limited. The strategy is earning fees, and everything is bells and whistles, and you get everything that you need without you being tensed about what when to rebalance and when not to rebalance, right? So how we actually limit the impermanence loss, right? So first of all, no financial advice or something of that sort. This is all due diligence that we do, all the back testing and everything that we have done, and that's how we have come to these scenarios. So there are two strategies that we are creating. One is for the blue chip and one is for the normal volatile tokens, like getting POL onboarded, right, from different protocol, correct? So for getting those tokens, what happens is we create a backtesting data of we getting 95% of the governance token and 5% of the base asset, right? We create two or three ranges with different ratios of the liquidity, where the liquidity is maintained in such a way that the buying and selling also happens, right? So that the pool price is stabilized. It does not actually put a lot of impermanent loss on the pool, right? And the second is at the certain point of time we have to make sure that it comes to 50-50, right? So that is one another another thing that actually happens, correct? And most of the impermanent loss, when it happens is when there is a directional market, right? Market is zooming up or it's actually a bloodbath and it's going, the price is coming down, and all. So at that time, what happens is, you have the ranges. If it's going 10-20% in one day, right? Sometimes it's happened, and in volatile token, it can happen a lot because the volume, as soon as, there is a volume spike, you can see some directional movement in them, right? So what happens is in that point of time, it will of course go through those ranges and it will leave you with one asset and it's actually going to amplify the IL, right? So the main thing that we do is that we make sure that it doesn't go out of range. Our strategies are designed in such a way that it always stays in range, right? And it always stays in range in such a fashion through a certain ratio that we put with a certain algorithm that we put. It keeps earning the fees, and you're never left with one asset. You always have two assets in between, and it keeps the pool, liquid. It keeps the pool active, and also limits the impermanent loss because leaving yourself with one asset actually amplifies your improvement, right? If the ETH price is going down and your position goes out of range, you cannot do anything. You're just left with ETH. And if ETH price is going down, you are just holding a lesser valuable and depreciating asset, right? So that is something we limit using our hold features, where if the liquidity, if the price is actually rising a lot, what we do is we hold the position, right? We don't put a lot of liquidity in the pool. We just make sure that the trades are happening in a efficient manner and the community liquidity is limited. And in that case, we put the liquidity, most of the liquidity in our contracts, it stays there, and we don't put it in the pool, and that limits a lot of impermanent loss for the protocol also and for the LPs also. So that is something we do to limit impermanent loss, right? So that is what something happens to limit that.
Got it, Danger. Thank you for explaining more in depth. I think it's a very interesting feature, as I mentioned before, like impermanent loss. So, that's a pain for everybody, for a lot of people that are using DeFi for providing liquidity. So that's very interesting that you guys have innovated in this way. It'll be cool for me personally to check it out as well, to try it out myself.
Perfect. Exactly, man. Yeah, sure, of course.
Thanks for that answer. Let's move on to a different question, kind of a different topic. So you guys have integrated with Space ID. So I'm interested to learn what your thoughts are on Web3 domains in general, and how do you guys see, what kind of benefits do you see by having this integration partnership with Space ID, both in the long term and the short term?
Perfect, perfect. So, coming to that part, we integrated with Space ID, and it's been great interacting with the team, and the integration process was also, quite eased out, and it was, quite a breeze. And we integrated, so Space ID to become a part of the ecosystem, ever-growing ecosystem community, where it's not just about, you being there, right? You need to have an identity with that, right? And what happens is, there is a very mutual benefit that we are having with the Space ID. So what's happening actually is our strategy managers, right? As I mentioned, it's a permissionless protocol, admin, right? And you as a strategy manager, admin, you can also create a strategy, right? You can also create a strategy, and anyone can add funds to it if you are actually managing it more efficiently. And it's a very it's a very combined role where the LPs trust you and you trust the LPs in you, they giving the funds to you, right? And if you have this specific identity by space ID, be it the .arm or the .bnb, right? I myself hold one. It gives you a little bit of confidence in that user that okay, he's a little, of course, it's an identity that you're holding. It's a bit of the achievement, right, that you have in yourself and your identity. So with that, the users have a little bit of confidence, right? They can look on your name on other platforms, right? They can look at the profile through that naming service, and it gives a whole lot of context to the user. And because our platform actually stands out in that permissionless factor, so people can actually look at the domains and look at the name services, where he or she has been interacting, right? Use the domain as a identification factor in making sure that they know who this guy is, and their trust factor also. And I have seen people using it as a Twitter, uh, what should I, Twitter username or Twitter profile also. And so if I have like, dangerexploit.bnb, right, I'll probably put it up on my Twitter as well. And if I do a lot of these transactions, I as a strategy manager stand out. And because of that, you can identify me on Twitter also, right? And it gives us a boost that we don't have to make sure that, okay, how do we make sure that there is no barrier between the strategy manager, as because of this naming services, we don't have a barrier, and the users can actually verify who this guy is, who or she this is, by verifying it on other domains, right? Going on other platforms where they are also using this, or going to RB scan or BSC scan, putting the profile there. And the second best thing is to put it on Twitter, right? If users are actually, this it's a whole growing community, right? It's a whole ecosystem that you guys are putting in. And if users actually put this as a Twitter username or a Twitter, ID as well, I think that would be the best way, right? If a strategy manager is having the space ID, domain, and they have the same as the Twitter profile, the LPs can actually see, okay, this guy is managing the strategy on Twitter, and I can see, okay, I can verify his history. This guy is good. This guy is having good numbers. Best way to perform, right? So that's why I say this concept is amazing. It gives you a sense of boost, right? Gives you a sense of confidence. It gives you a sense of achievability, right? And that is what we need, right? There are so many unknown wallet addresses, so many unknown faces that you see. You being one of the people holding this, and this giving you a sense of achievability, a sense of recognition. What else can you ask for, right? And that topped with compatibility with other protocols, right? You being able to recognize yourself in the crowd, and the integration with us, and that coming with other use cases of identification and putting yourself first. I think that is what we do, and the core feature of View being a mutual partners with us, and us, we are working on that also, that instead of the Twitter IDs that we are showing under the strategy manager on the strategies, we'll start showing the space ID integration, right, and the naming service there, so that people know, okay, this is the guy who's managing the strategy, right? So that is how we perceive this, I think. But really nice question, man.
Got it. Thank you, Dangerous. That's very, very interesting perspective. And we're also very glad to have you guys integrated with us. We do have a lot of .bnb holders here, .rb holders here, maybe .eth as well, since we resolved that with our SDK. I think specifically for BNB and .rb, I'm not sure if you can comment on this, but I think an interesting question for our own audience is what could our holders expect from you guys? Maybe you guys will be offering any additional benefits for these domain holders that are using their domains on your product.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. That's a very interesting one. I'd love to take. So that is, of course, something we are still looking forward to, how we can actually benefit the holders, right? Because that is one thing. But the identification part, where the strategy managers are actually going to benefit from this, how the integration has played through, and how we are actually integrating them on the strategies, right? If the users actually go to our app, right, there is a certain, under every strategy, there is a icon of a wallet address, or the probably we have integrated setup. So there we are going to integrate these IDs and everything. So that is going to be a plus point for the strategy manager for sure, because he'll have a say that okay, I am being recognized in the community, and people can actually verify who am I, right? And they can easily add the funds, and this will give a boost to him and add, managing more liquidity here, and more LPs can actually trust him, right? So that is one thing. That's a very good mutual partnership. And the third part, if we talk about the benefits, that is a very major benefit that we actually perceive. It's a very major benefit in our eyes also, because we have been building this for 1.5 years, and perceiving yourself as a major part in the strategy management, stuff, and putting this through the community. It's a very major task, right? And if we crack that, I think it's a win-win situation. And we're also looking at other benefits, right? Because it's an ever-growing community, and we have to make sure that we get the most out of it, right? And I really love seeing these many people, and I love if they also come and create the strategies, right? And I leave it to you guys actually, right? Because we have something in mind, but you guys, come create some strategies, look into it, right? What type of benefits would you actually expect from us, and space ID integration? And I love to see that also actually.
Yeah, maybe our community can come to your social channels and maybe see what they can request on your social channels as well. So Danger, thanks for that. Thanks for answering those two questions regarding the integration. I want to get back a little to DeFi Edge. So you did mention before you guys are expanding on different chains. So look, I want to learn more about your strategy on this. Can you share your multi-chain strategy? Are you guys planning to expand to more chains? What's the strategy? What's the plan here?
Yeah, sure. Another amazing question, right? So multi-chain, going multi-chain and going, having a presence on different chains. That's of course our focus, right? And as I mentioned in initially, previously also, that we started off with Uniswap V3, and to whichever chain Uniswap V3 went, we also integrated those chains, right? So now not just those chains where Uniswap V3. So actually we are live on Ethereum, BNB, Arbitrum, Optimism, Polygon, right? And now we are actually live on Moonbeam as well. We are live on, we are going live on Mantle right now. Like probably in a day or so, we are going live there on Mantle. And, we are also live on, I forgot the name of the chain, right? Two or three other chains as well. So all these chains are coming together. We are creating a whole ecosystem, and there are many other things, right? Partnering with bridges that is in our roadmap, right? But I think we'll cover that is in our roadmap, and the multi-chain part is very important for us also, right? Because the more dexes that we integrate, the more community we can target, and the major dex partnerships we are having, it's really nice to have these dexes. We are working with them, and to cover most of them, we are actually going on these various dexes. We have several other chains that we are talking to, and our main goal is to make that liquidity also capital efficient, right? Because a dex, I think, my personal preference there is that a dex is actually a liquidity layer of a chain, right? If there is no dex on a chain, how is the dex liquidity? Basically, isn't it right? It's like a liquidity layer. If a new chain is launched, it can work without lending stuff, right? But text is something that has to happen, right? Because then no protocol liquidity would be there, right? Protocol is launching, but no token. How it's going to survive, right? So DEX is the major liquidity, layer on a chain, and we want to make sure that it's more capital efficient. And that's why we are launching there, and making sure that we partner with many dexes, and as many dexes as we partner with, there's going to be a lot of these capital efficient strategies that will be live there, and it would be helpful for the user also, right? Because the more tokens that are launching on these chains, right, the more dexes we are partnering with, the liquidity is going to be capital efficient in such a way that there's going to be lesser slippage in the trades. There's going to be more earnings for them, right? More trades, more arbs, and everything. It's going to be a very nice cycle that we want to create. Let's see how this hopes to. But to come back on the question, right? For the multi-chain part, so we are very bullish on that. We are, expanding to as many blockchain networks as possible. We are talking with many other chains, not just the older ones. We are looking at newer launches, ZK saying ZK EVM, right? Calling on ZK EVM. We'll be looking at all the chains, and I think that would be the major part. And I hope Space ID would also be launching on these newer chains, and we'll take this partnership forward as well, right? And Artin, I'll hit you up once we go on other chains and ask you guys to also be there, guys. Yeah.
Definitely. And yeah, we are expanding as well. We are getting into space cities, getting into different chains as we go on. Like we first had BNB, then it's Airbnb. Now we're working on .say as well. So definitely really interested in your plan going multi-chain. That sounds
Perfect.
very
I think the community would also like you going on, newer chains as well, right? I
for
think
sure.
community can give a big yes to you for going there, and I think they'll also enjoy there, right?
For sure, for sure. And so danger in regards to your guys' strategy, I guess is a more wide question for you now. Since you did mention you guys are planning to do some stuff in regards to multiple chains, what's your general roadmap for 2023? What would you say are the most important things you guys have still planned for the remainder of this year that you think our audience should know?
Yeah, perfect. So, coming to the roadmap part, right? I'll, really explain this part out because, we really have filled the roadmap in abundance, right? We have different things planned, and of course, right? So we are partnering with many other DEXs, right? We are like the Camelot integration is almost at the stage of completion, and now it's actually in the final stages. We have the audits and everything done, and we are actually going forward with that, right? Also, we have the Moonbeam grant that we applied for, right? So that is also in our roadmap, and we'll see a Moonbeam partnership and Moonbeam expand also very soon, right? That is also one thing. As I mentioned, we are also going on Mantle, right? We have some partnerships with the major dexes there, and we'll be going on Mantle as well. Right? And then our next major part is the optimization and the active management of the protocol liquidity through our ALO strategies, right? We have done the back testing, and I'll request the community to also stay tuned on our Twitter and Discord as well, right? If you the guys are interested in seeing that, because we'll be pushing out a lot of alpha on how you can manage the strategy on Uniswap V3, right? And how actually is the strategy functioning, because what we are actually doing is with these efficient management, all these strategies will be automated, right? And this is the next big step that we are taking in the Uniswap, or any other confident dex management, because all these the automated strategies that would be expanded to all the other dexes that we are actually integrating, right? So basically, this is our next major step of making this stick in place and expand this on the other dexes. And our main goal is to get as many protocols as possible and align our goal with them, right? And make sure that this is a goal of making the liquidity more capital efficient, right? And then the other thing in the roadmap is, of course, different integrations and all that stuff, and we are also revamping some things here and there, new farming. We are integrating Merkle also, and that is the major part of the roadmap that's left to cover, but we'll keep updating, and there are new stuff coming daily with us, with the team, and team is working constantly on different integrations and partnerships. So the major part is, what I'll say is the roadmap is quite five. We have stretched it a little bit, and the best part would be to stay updated, and it would be worthwhile for the community also and us also, and because community feedback is the most important for us, and we really take the community feedback far uh, too, and make sure that we act on the comments and everything that they have for us. So that is what the major part is.
For sure, Danger. Thanks for that answer. Glad to see you guys do have a lot of planned out. Um, that's pretty much all I had for you in regards to DefiEdge. Now I want to ask you. I do know. I checked your Twitter. I do know you guys are in ETHCC. Are you personally there or not?
No, man. Unfortunately, no. I'm not personally there, but the teams are there, so I'm constantly getting the updates from them. what's
Oh,
happening, who are they meeting. So
awesome. Maybe you could share any interesting experiences your team has had in ECC. Any interesting stories? Anything you learned from the event itself? Interested to hear that.
yeah, perfect. I'll see what I can put here. So we have been interacting with the team, but what they'll come and let us know that's something different. But the event so far that I have heard is very good. There are different stuff. The main part, I think, what's shining there at HCC as from personal experience on looking at Twitter also is so many newer chains are launching. And uh, using different stacks, the zero knowledge rollups, L2s. That's the major part I am seeing that's, launching. So I think that was the major alpha that I could put through that so many L2s, so many chains are launching, be it the base chain, Mantle, right? When all these chains are launching, Polygon, ZK, EVM, right? And I think ZK Sync is also there. So all these newer chains are launching, and people are actually getting attracted to them, right? And and that was the major alpha that I could actually take from them. But there are different stuff happening with them. But me being far from that space, that is all that I could bring forward here.
Got it. No worries. Yeah, that's enough. Yeah, it's interesting really to hear interesting stories from the actual events. So appreciate you giving us some info there. Okay. Thank you, Danger. That was really interesting to hear from your side about what you guys are doing, what you guys have planned for the remainder of this year. Before we do end off this AMA, just a quick thing I want to address with our audience. You guys did see we have launched the first whitelist campaign for .say. So if you guys go and check out the Say News channel, you'll see we have launched the Sailor Saga #1. You can claim the ticket out after you guys register your testnet.say name. So go ahead and do that. There is a snapshot, I believe, on the 29th, which will be 8 a.m. UTC. So make sure you go ahead and do that beforehand. And definitely stay tuned for more stuff. We have a lot of things planned. And Danger, any closing comments from your end? Anything else you'd like to end off with?
Only thing I'll say is, for really nice to have you here. Sorry, really nice to be here actually, right? And it's been really nice interacting with the community. And the only comment that I'll do Martin, is that I really like the community to come try out the integration, right, that we have in place, and the benefits that we can align for them, right? Because we really would like to listen what the community has in store for us and what they actually need from us, right? And we are launching some new stuff, so probably check that also out, and do try it out. And yeah, I think that is the major part. And stay safe, and of course, stay updated in the crypto market, man.
For sure. And to everyone in the audience, make sure you guys check out DefiEdge, check out what they're doing, try out their product. Make sure you guys also claim the oat if you have listened in for 20 minutes. DefiEdge has sponsored 100 USDC in rewards for lucky oat holders. And for everyone in the audience, we will see you guys next week. And Danger was really glad having you here.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, man. And really would like to thank the community for listening so patiently. It's been a nice stuff interacting with the audience. And if they have any questions, of course, they could ask in the Discord channels of ours, and me or my team could answer them. And I'll recommend them trying the strategies out and everything, so that we are building this out, and this is for the community itself, right? So if they come and try out these strategies, it would be really nice to see their feedback, and how we could scale things up. And if they have anything in from that place, I would love to hear them in our community, come up with us and interact. And yeah, perfect. I think that's really nice to be here. Thanks a lot, Arjun, for leading this, man. Really nice
Perfect.
hosting
No
by
worries.
you.
Thanks for joining, Danger. Was awesome having you here. Yeah, we'll end off with that. Guys, make sure to check out DefiEdge. Make sure you go and ask any questions you have in their Discord. And for the next weekly AMA, will be happening on Thursday as well. And see you there. Thanks, Danger. Was glad having you here. And bye bye to everyone in the audience.
Perfect.